I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of Guns and Gears. Welcome to today's show. We've got a great show for you. Got a lot to do on today's program. You know, I get quite a bit of email, and please remember our website, gunsandgears.tv, not .com, gunsandgears.tv. And if you have a question or something you want to ask me or contact me, you can do so at johnny@gunsandgears.tv. That's my email address, so please feel free. I do get quite a number of emails, and I do the best I can on replying, but we certainly appreciate your consideration there. Anyway, I get quite a number of emails about military-style guns. Military rifles remain very popular among the shooting public. This is a Colt AR-15, or they call it a Sporter actually. This is the civilian model of the M16. And I say civilian model, one, it does not have a bayonet lug here underneath the front sight, and it is semi-automatic only. The M16 has a full auto feature. Some have 3-shot burst or both features on the AR-15. It is in .223 Remington caliber, or 5.56 NATO, if you want to call it that. Now, here's the other military rifle we're going to look at today. This is the civilian model of the M14, or the M1A. This one is from Springfield Armory, of course. There actually are more than a couple of varieties of these guns out there. This one is a Springfield, and their quality has been very high over the years and remains so. This one is in .308 or 7.62 NATO. Now, both of these guns are being used in Iraq today and in hot spots around the globe, not just with the U.S. military, but other military organizations as well. They are sort of apples and oranges. Over the years, there's been a great dispute about, well, which one's better, which one? Well, they're different. They're simply not the same thing. The M1A, and we'll sort of refer to this as the M14 type rifle, was an offshoot of earlier battle rifle technology. It was a modification of the great M1 Garand system, and briefly let's take a look at how these guns work. Before we go any further, let's take a brief look at the cartridges for each gun. This is the .223 Remington, or 5.56 NATO round. Typically, cartridges we encounter of the .223 will have a 55 grain bullet running at about 3,150 feet per second out of the average AR type barrel. They are very accurate. They have been proven in all sorts of scenarios. It's a great varmint cartridge actually, and in comparison to the .308 or the 7.62 NATO, it looks like a pipsqueak. It's really not. The .223 has about half the horsepower that the .308 does. The .308 is using a 150 grain bullet typically at about 2,600 feet per second out of the M14 or M1A. They're really apples and oranges. Both cartridges have their uses.
Guns and Gears will be back right after these messages.
Attention 1911 and AR type rifle fans, if you want the ultimate in quality, reliability, and accuracy, call Les Baer Custom and order the guns America's top shooting professionals prefer. All Les Baer guns are hand-fitted and hand-finished for the maximum in precision and performance. Also, they offer a full line of custom 1911 and AR rifle parts. Call 309-658-2716, catalog only $2, or go to lesbaer.com.
Power, performance, reliability, confidence. The standards by which we expect our vehicles to perform by. ATS Performance makes those products that put the power to the ground. With our line of high-performance torque converters and transmissions, you can feel confident about putting the power to the ground and getting to where you need. ATS Performance, paving the way for the diesels of today.
Georgia Arms wants to be your ammo company. They feature a full line of best quality handgun and rifle ammo delivered right to your door at the lowest prices possible. Whether you have a 9mm or a .357 Magnum or a .454 Cthulhu or one of the great .460 Rowland guns, they've got your ammo. Maybe you want cowboy action shells or Precision Plus long-range hunting ammo with Nosler AccuBond bullets. Maybe you want components to load your own ammo. Well, call them to order 1-800-624-6861 or go online at georgia-arms.com.
Fun Ford Weekend is an organization developed by Ford enthusiasts to promote Ford drag racing and car show events. Fun Ford Weekend is dedicated to the growth and development of Ford performance. They provide an enjoyable and fun-filled atmosphere for racers and fans. Go to funfordevents.com and check the schedule to see which of the 14 events you can attend this year.
How would you like to have 44 Magnum Performance on your 1911 style pistol? You can with our 460 Rowland pistol kit, available on our website at gunsandgears.tv. With our 460 pistol kit, you can shoot the super powerful 460 Rowland shell as well as the standard 45 ACP in the same gun. With our 460 pistol kit, you can shoot the super powerful 460 Rowland shell as well as the standard 45 ACP in the same gun. The easily installed kit includes a new custom compensated barrel, custom springs, and a full-length recoil guide. Only $275 plus shipping and handling. Order your conversion kit at gunsandgears.tv.
As we look at these two guns, we can see that the AR-15 is a smaller package than, say, the M14, or in this case, the M1A. Essentially, for external dimensions, these are mirror images of the military-type rifles. Again, neither one of these guns has the full auto feature, but for our purposes today, they'll do just fine. You can see the magazine for the M14 is a 20-round affair, and it's bigger, of course, than a 20-round magazine for the AR-type rifle because we simply have a huge difference in size of the two cartridges. So it became practical for the military to experiment with larger magazine sizes. This one is a 30-round magazine for the AR-type rifle, and even today, the 20-round does seem to show a little edge in reliability. However, both of these guns have proven to be very solid designs. When we're speaking of designs, both of these have been battle-proven the world over. However, the AR-15 originally had some bad experiences for service people, especially during the Vietnam era. This gun was originally, as the AR-type rifle, was originally a gun that was going to be used in defense of aircraft in Vietnam and other close-range activities. And even today, it is still an excellent close-range type weapon. Now, people do shoot them at long distances. The cartridge is very accurate, but it has nowhere near, again, the power potential of the .308 cartridge. Apples and oranges. The M14s, or this cartridge, are in use today for long-range application by the military. But realize that the military, the official Army statistics are that about 100,000 rounds are fired in a battlefield situation for every enemy casualty. Well, think about it, friends. It's a whole lot less expensive, if they're going to shoot 100,000 rounds anyway, to shoot 100,000 of the 223 versus 100,000 of the 308. They're much less expensive to manufacture. They're also much more compact and easier to carry in the field. The way the M14 works is you have a hole in the bottom of the barrel right here, and as the bullet passes this point, you have hot gases around 50,000 or so pounds per square inch, and in this little hole, some of this gas is bled off, and you have an operating rod. It's called a fixed piston, but you have an operating rod here that literally runs right here, actually back here, and and the rod goes to the rear, ejects the spin hull, picks up the next cartridge in the magazine, and reloads itself. That's why they're sometimes called auto loaders. Whereas on the AR type rifle, you have again a hole in the barrel. In this case, it's on top of the barrel, right under the front sight there, roughly in this area. And you have a gas tube. You don't have the long operating rod that you do here on the M1A or M14. It is done by gases, and so hot gases come back and they act on the breech bolt, and same drill as far as this happens. The bolt comes to the rear, ejects a spent cartridge case, and picks up a new one out of the magazine. Now this particular design has a dust cover, and of course when the bolt is put or cycled to the rear, it immediately opens. And you can watch it as soon as the bolt starts back, the dust cover opens. A lot of features on this gun are of arguable worth. The dust cover probably is a reasonable idea under very severe conditions of dust. Also, I like the carrying handle on the AR type gun. It's more convenient. You don't require a sling, although a sling's a good idea for other purposes, but this is an extra thing. This is a carrying handle, which also houses the rear sight. But one of the things in Vietnam that caused problems was gunpowder was defective on some of the early military issue 223 ammunition. And what it would do, and also the bureaucracy did not give adequate instructions on how to care for these guns, and it was a disaster in some areas. There are battlefield pictures of people that were killed when their AR type rifle jammed. Well, the mechanism is sound, the design is sound, but due to defective gunpowder, which left a lot of residue in the chambers, a lot of these guns malfunctioned early on in the Vietnam War. That's what this is called. It's called a forward assist. So on the M1A or M14, you have a bolt handle. You can actually ram forward and seat the bullet. But on the ARs, you didn't have that on the original guns. So to combat a malfunction or failure in case the chamber was dirty, this is actually a ratchet type mechanism. And you can see the cuts there on the bolt. This will literally ratchet the bolt into position so the gun can still be fired even if it happens to jam from debris in the chamber on a battlefield type situation. You know, the M14 was really a great rifle design. Again, still in use today. All sorts of long-range matches are fired using this particular weapon, military and civilian for that matter. But it does have some features that were not as friendly to some soldiers which might handle this. For a female or woman soldier, it's going to be somewhat unhandy. And recoil from the 308 cartridge is quite a bit more than a 223. Let's do a couple of shots here from my shoulder today. Still get a little push back. To me, it's not so objectionable, but you still have that push. In full auto fire, which these guns have in the military version, a full auto selector switch, they're very difficult to control. Much better in a semi-automatic type situation. Whereas on the AR-15 type rifles, much less recoil, so it can easily be fired by a woman soldier or a woman who's interested certainly in shooting one of these on rifle range or for hunting or whatever else, and much more controllable in full auto type fire. So, apples and oranges. You know, they're both very fine and battle-proven designs. Also, they have done extremely well on the civilian side as target guns, as hunting rifles. Again, prescribing the bullet for the game to be dealt with in the field, of course. The 223, a great varmint cartridge. The 308, a big game cartridge. Certainly a much stronger long-range rifle. So we'll be continuing the information on these military type rifles, huge amount of interest in them. This is an installment for many of our emails. And you know what? These things are just a lot of fun to go out and shoot. Safety on.
More Guns and Gears right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a really exciting product to show you and some very nice people to introduce you to, a fine company. We're in Duncan, Oklahoma today. This gentleman is Marty Covalt, and Marty is an engineer and a designer, and you do a lot of other things too, don't you, Marty?
That's correct.
Whatever needs to be done, in other words, but he is largely responsible for the design on one of the more exciting mechanical developments for the Chrysler big block enthusiasts, or Mopars as we more commonly say. This is one of the most exciting developments that on the Mopar front. Now, Marty, this is a cylinder head for the big block Mopar, as in 440, 383, 400 series. What makes this head special, sir?
Well, one of the things, it'll bolt directly on a standard bore spacing big block Mopar. It has canted valves, which means that you can have bigger valves, and they unshroud as they open. It's symmetrical port, which means that the cooling in the head is more equal than a standard wedge head. For instance, on a standard wedge head, the exhaust, the two center ones are together. That creates the hot spot in the head, and that's bad on a race motor.
Now, this is an all-aluminum head, and what you've done here, and this is really making some waves among Mopar enthusiasts, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes, we've had good response.
Well, on a normally aspirated, non-supercharged engine, this probably has more potential than any other cylinder head out there, even with the Hemi, as far as for a normally aspirated street engine. Am I right?
I believe so. That's correct.
What are your valve sizes?
The intake's 2.4. The exhaust is 1.84.
Big valves, and of course the standard big block Mopar is an inline valve system. Here we've got the canted valves. Why is a canted valve head better than an inline valve head as far as breathing?
Well, you can put bigger valves with a canted valve because you don't have to worry about it shrouding as it opens into the cylinder.
Bring them out there together and see, they actually get close. Now, they won't touch, no, as far as in normal operation, but you see how they get closer together the further they come out. That's that cant. And what Marty has done is just a remarkable job of engineering on the combustion chamber shape. Marty, I think you'd be proud, sir, huh?
Yes, I'm very proud.
What kind of performance have you seen on these heads so far?
The best horsepower numbers that we've heard so far is 1,210 horsepower out of a 596 cubic inch motor.
That's no nitrous, no supercharger.
No nitrous, supercharger, or anything else.
1,200 plus horsepower, which is fantastic, friends. What about intake manifolds?
We have a single 4-barrel cast manifold. Part of it was designed by Rear Morrison. It'll flow just about as good as the heads do.
Well, so you had some of the very best people to work with you in the industry to get this thing working.
That's correct.
Now, Marty, hold up. You're not going to hurt your back, are you?
No, I don't think so.
These are aluminum heads, and it would take you and I both, if this was a cast iron head, to be holding that up, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
And we wouldn't like it. But it's a very, very finely machined, and this is really a breakthrough as far as the Chrysler or big block Mopar enthusiast goes, isn't it, Marty?
Yes, it is. It's doing real well.
Friends, what this means is the big block Chrysler, non-Hemi Chrysler, the 440, 426, 413, the big blocks can now be competitive as far as making horsepower with the big block Chevrolet, as in 396, 427, 454, or the Cobra Jet Ford, 429, 460, so which they really haven't been when it comes down to heads-up type racing. The Chryslers simply have been at a breathing disadvantage. This fixes it. And normally the ones that you can always identify the Predator heads by the lane where the wind light comes on first. Is that right?
That's correct.
Marty, if someone wants more information on your products, on these fantastic heads, and wants information, how can they get that, sir?
They can call us on our tech line at area code 580-255-2395.
Or what about the internet? What about websites?
Yes, we have a website, nrcperformance.com.
There's more guns and gears right after this.
Recently, I was a guest of Factory 5 Racing at one of their Factory 5 Challenge races in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's join Dave Smith from Factory 5 Racing.
Let me just tell you a little bit about the Challenge Series. We started about 5 years ago, and the cars have really come along, and they're very competitive right now. But the goal of the series was there's a lot of racing series that have started, and they get started, and then they get caught up with costs, and people get natty about all the rules and regulations. And we try to keep it a grassroots racing effort, something where an average guy could come out here, get into a car for 20 or 30 grand, and then keep the consumables low over the season. It's a pretty competitive series. We've got some very good drivers in the series. The way the cars are set up is they're a replica of a vintage Cobra, 1960s Cobra replica.
The cars are really torquey. They're really reliable. They use a Mustang drivetrain right from Ford. They're totally stock. 225 horsepower motor, 273 gear ratio in the rear. With that combination and the light vehicle weight, about 2,200 pounds, the cars just pull right out of the corners really quick. They have a great cornering ability. Been racing in the series for 2 years now. There are a lot of interesting things we have to do to our cars to get them prepped to race out here legally. For example, we have, with glass headlights, you have to tape them up to keep them from being damaged and cracking, falling on the ground and messing up other racers behind you. They use a stock Ford drivetrain, a T5 transmission, a 5-liter Mustang motor, an 8.8 rear axle. The cockpit has a set of 4 gauges that most of the racers use, but some of the guys that register these cars in the street and drive them on the street as well as race the car put some more gauges in it, and they'll also throw on a windshield that they can take off and on for the street to be street legal. Probably 50% of the cars out here this weekend have street registered cars as well as their race cars. Some features we'll add are things like this very quick fill fuel cell. We can drop this funnel in this car, fill about 5 gallons in 15 seconds. Really speeds things up for the endurance races. We have full tubular roll cage, well extended above the driver's head. A lot of these 1.5-inch round tubes go throughout the entire chassis to add protection. You can see on the passenger side door there's some frame tubing and a big thick plate of aluminum to provide some crash protection from the side. The doors on the factory Factory 5 Challenge cars don't open due to the crash impact protection on the side, so we hop over the doors, which is pretty easy to do. We also use a fire suppression bottle. As you can see here, that we have a little lever on the dash that we can pull out, and it'll shoot halon gas throughout the entire vehicle to put out any fires. Also, on this car, we have underneath the dash an extra personal fire extinguisher for any case that may be needed. This here is a helmet with a Hans device on it. It's really becoming a very widely used device. This Hans device you see hanging here. That goes up behind your neck and helps hold your head up in the case of an accident to prevent any neck damage. So there's a lot of thought put into the cars, into the safety equipment to make it fun and enjoyable.
Spencer Sharp from Phoenix has just won this race of the spec cars from Factory 5. Is it warm enough for you, Spencer?
Yeah, it's a pretty warm day. The temperature kind of jumped up on us last week, and it's about 110 out here.
Well, how'd that affect your race?
Just made it, feel twice as long. It's just hot out there. Got to drink a lot of water, and didn't affect it too much, except the track being a little slippery, but I think it was slick for everybody.
Well, the other competitors really have complimented you. They said you ran a smart race. Of course, you got a great car too, don't you?
Good car. Gordon Levy Racing prepares it, so I think we had a little bit of an advantage out there.
Well, you certainly drove a great race, and Spencer, good to meet you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
For more information on Factory 5 Racing and the Factory 5 Challenge Series, you can go to Factory 5's website at www.factory5.com. You can also go to the Challenge Series specific site at www.ffrchallenge.com. You can reach Factory 5 at phone number 508-291-3443 for more details. Ask them for a free brochure, DVD, and info pack, and we'll send one right out to you free of charge.